And that someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's gonna get better. It's not.
In less than 10 years, social media has taken the world by storm. We can now communicate with almost anyone, from anywhere, effortlessly and instantly. And the ways we use social media are endless. To stay in touch, for entertainment, to express ourselves, or to satisfy our curiosity about a planet millions of miles from Earth. But we are on a mission that hits much closer to home. With your help, we plan to harness the power of social media to protect our most vulnerable citizens, our children.
Children are just the definition of an innocent victim.
Somebody disappears from your life forever, and there's no way you can get that back, and it's horrible.
4 times this beast has tried to kill my kid, and it's not fair anymore.
It's not okay to do to children. It's just not okay.
Our goal is to stop a killer. A silent serial killer that takes the lives of children day after day, 365 days a year.
This is the bully or the monster that comes in the middle of the night and steals our kids.
Every time I read about another child dying, it's heartbreaking.
When your daughter says, "Help me, Daddy," and you tell her that everything will be all right, which
I'm Melinda Marciano, and this is The Truth 365. 4 years ago, I faced this killer and survived, but I was one of the lucky ones. Over 2,500 kids a year die at the hands of this killer called cancer, childhood cancer. What's shocking is that our country is doing very little to prevent these deaths, and the public is unaware.
And every day children are dying, every day children are being diagnosed, and still nothing is being done about it. And people don't know. We didn't know. We didn't have any idea that there was this many families out there, this many children, and how terrible this diseases are. And once you do start to realize that, you know that something needs to be done.
I too was unaware until this beast nearly took my life. I vowed that if I survived, I would do everything in my power to help expose the truth, eradicate cancer, and end the suffering for all children. That brings us to today and this film. I'm here to fulfill this promise, but I need your help. We need your help. You have the power to give these kids something that they never had. A voice.
They're young, innocent kids who need someone to stand up for them.
The truth is that our government spends billions of dollars a year on cancer research, but very little goes directly to childhood cancer research.
And you really need the national resources of the federal government.
And the government has millions and billions of dollars set aside for cancer research, but so little of it is spent on children. It's very little, a fraction.
Right now it's estimated that about 4% of the National Cancer Institute's budget is directed for childhood cancer research.
Kids are dying because they lack treatment options.
And I looked at them and I said, "Is it because there's no research?" And they said, "Yes."
The federal government's role is to protect those who are most vulnerable.
We cannot sit here and wait for the next 10 years. In 10 years, more children will die. More of the patients that I treat will die. And I cannot take it.
And you can help stop this by exposing this hidden reality.
If people really knew what was going on with little kids, maybe that funding would change.
At the end of this film, we will tell you exactly how you can stand up for these kids in a way that will make a big difference.
It takes so little to take a stand, and it means so much if 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million people take a stand. It would just transform pediatric cancer research.
Everything you need is right in front of you. All it will take is a few minutes of your time.
Because we see when the general public is involved and when people take a stance on something, how amazing it is.
Because you can actually save a child's life. And the fact that you can do that with so little effort is truly remarkable.
Are you with me? If so, please keep your eyes and ears open. Do not look away. These kids and their families are depending on you.
It really is important. It's not just a sad story. It's a story that can turn into a good story if there's enough awareness spread about it.
We will take you on a journey through the eyes of children, parents, and doctors who fight cancer on a daily basis. You will learn about the many challenges and misconceptions that make finding a cure so elusive. At the end of this film, we will tell you exactly how you can start a wave of change for these children. It's important that you watch the entire video, but if you don't have time right now, you can skip to the call to action section at minute 39. But please bookmark this link and watch the complete film later today or tomorrow.
There's always ups and downs on the road we travel. There's always smiles and frowns, but at least I have you by my side through these ups and downs that come with life.
One day you're playing a doubleheader soccer game. The next day you're in the hospital with doctors taking blood from you and come back and say you have cancer.
I have nightmares about it. I have nightmares. And my biggest fear is that if I possibly don't make it, how my family members are going to treat it. I'm mostly worried about my sister.
Is it gonna go away or is it gonna keep coming and coming? And if it keeps coming and coming, I don't know what would happen.
I do want to fight it, but I just don't want me to die. I just want to stay alive.
I want to live to be at least 30. I was almost gonna cry and it hurted a little bit. It hurted a lot. Don't want to get some yucky medicine.
I woke up one morning and my cheeks looked so big and my lips were swollen. My mom said I looked like Angelina Jolie.
The scariest part about having cancer is that you're worried that you might get sicker and sicker. My doctors always kind of kid around with me, but when they have to get serious, I get really scared, so I usually ask them to leave the room. So I don't really know what they talk about.
I get angry with myself, I get angry with others, the doctors.
After Kaylee's chemo and steroids, she's just crazy and cranky and she needs to have everything her way and it's just a totally different person and it's crazy.
Bald is beautiful, but cancer is not.
When I lost my hair, people made jokes about me. They used to call me bald-headed Blake. I don't like that.
When I went to school, people came to me and asked why you were bald, and they said that I looked like a boy, which I don't like.
Childhood cancer is the biggest bully out there, and we need to stand up to bullies.
This is a picture of my brother Andrew. It was the night before he went to septic shock, and then everything from there just kind of went downhill, and then everything just kind of ended.
And I know that my sister went through a lot of stress and hurting, and she hated it. She just wanted to escape.
In the middle of the night, one night, my parents woke me up and told me that Jacob died. And the first words that I said from there was, but I don't want him to die. It was too much for me to process.
But when I first came in, their face was kind of red, and that says they were crying. So I'm like, okay, why on earth will you be crying? She's just sleeping, I think I tried opening her eye a little bit, but it just closed again,
And then I tried moving around, and then that's when I found out she was really dead.
He was a fighter, and he battled for 11 months, and he was just a tough little boy.
I'm so used to like sharing stuff with him because he's my twin and stuff. But it'll be hard because I'm so used to sharing a birthday with somebody, and now I'm not gonna, and it's gonna feel weird.
Sometimes it'll hit me that I have now 2 types of cancer and there's nothing really to control it anymore, and I'll just cry. But right now, I mean, I'm just gonna do all the things I've ever wanted to do and just live while I can. I mean, the doctors didn't say you're gonna die tomorrow. I mean, I'm not gonna die tomorrow. Well, we don't know that, but live every moment like it's your last one.
I want to grow up and be somebody, be an adult, pass away, my grandkids sitting next to me.
I want to live because someday I might make it to the Olympic gymnastics, and I really want to represent the USA.
I want to live, breathe the air into my veins. I want to see, envision, crystallize your name, but the world won't stop grinning while these times we are changing all in vain. I wanna be a lover and a name. I wanna fight, feel the red run from the inside. The world won't stop spinning while these lives we are living just the same. But it's alright, darling, it's alright. It's alright, darling, it's alright.
While it's normal to want to live, life stops being normal for children diagnosed with cancer.
They say that everything is gonna be okay. They say that everything is gonna be okay. They say that everything is gonna be okay in the end.
The worst day of my life was January 2nd, 2004, when we were told that your child has cancer. You can't even begin to process what that moment is like. Everything you knew ever has come to a crashing halt in about 10 seconds.
You go from a parent who thinks they know everything to somebody that knows nothing about how medicine works, about how this cancer works.
My daughter was diagnosed with a massive malignant brain tumor when she was 3 years old. It went on for several months with the doctors telling us that it was the flu.
She was stage 4, and it was in her central nervous system, so in the fluid in her brain, in her spine, and in her bone marrow.
You get your first meeting in a little room with a doctor who knows all kinds of stuff about this disease, and he lays a piece of paper in front of you that talks about the next year of treatment. And outside of that piece of paper, there's not a whole lot else they could do.
It's definitely life-changing, life-altering, not only for her and for the family, but for the teachers, the schools, everybody.
When Kaylee was at the top of the world, she had it all, and it came to a stop when she was diagnosed.
What scares me the most about cancer, it's hard to even say out loud, is the thought of not having Claire. I can't imagine not having my baby.
I love my daughter to the fullest. I mean, I don't know how long I have with her, but I enjoy every day, and I thank God for the time that He's given.
For the doctors to look at you and say, we're at the end of the road.
you want to punch him in the face, but it's like, come on, there's got to be something that we can do.
The attending came in and said he's died. And I went in and I looked at him and he was unhooked from everything. So it's so weird saying that, but I screamed and cursed, and it was just not fair seeing that. He fought so incredibly hard, and he was so smart and so funny, and just like that, just in 30 seconds, it's over.
Having gone through the last 2 years as a parent that's grieving, there are certainly times when I want to run. I want to run as far away from this disease as I can.
And then when they pass away, you lose your dreams for them. My children lost their big brother. They can't get that back.
While we can't bring back the children we've lost, we can honor them by taking action on their behalf.
But if her story could somehow help other children, I think that would give her life and her death such a purpose and such a meaning that would be really wonderful for us, I think.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to me to make sure that everybody hears this story. I'd like to save a child.
If he can get the ball rolling or create some sort of momentum with his videos and his photographs and his personality and what he went through, that would be phenomenal. I would want nothing more than for him to help and continue making some sort of progress.
And there's never been a better time in history to make progress. It's a new era for cancer therapy.
An experimental drug used to treat childhood cancer is showing some amazing progress.
This could be pointing the way toward what many scientists see as the future of all cancer treatment.
Awareness is at an all-time high. Our elected leaders begin new terms. Celebrities are making dreams come true.
And she said it was her dream to meet me. And so, of course, then it became my dream to meet her, too. So please welcome Talia.
But this year, something unprecedented happened.
We're back now with the web video. Actually, it's a short film that tens of millions of people are watching really every minute all over the world and then talking about on social media.
Is it possible that the most powerful army today is not military, but a collection of celebrities, students, and ordinary people?
In less than a week, it's become the most viral video ever.
But what do Coney and childhood cancer have in common?
All the problems that are out there, none is more severe than one that mutilates and takes the lives of little kids.
The Coney video stirred up a lot of people's emotion about what happens in another country with children.
But unlike Joseph Coney, childhood cancer is still in power. It continues to kill and disfigure children every day in our country and throughout the world.
Finding a cure for cancer in the United States, that's not just helping the United States, that's helping kids all around the world.
And we want people to rally behind us and say, wow, we want to help these kids.
You know, this is something that is doable. Things are so much faster. And you can name anything. iPad, iPod. Things that you can do on iPad today, you can imagine doing 5 years ago. Same thing for biological science. There's so much that we know, so much science we know. It's not like an impossible dream. The question really is, why can't we put in more money to just get it happen?
We can't do this just as a children's oncology group, just as individual pediatric oncologists. Everyone has to agree we need to knock down the many roadblocks that still exist.
And two of the major roadblocks are the lack of funding and the lack of awareness. Adult cancer research gets billions of dollars every year from the pharmaceutical industry, voluntary health organizations, and the federal government. By contrast, these same sources provide little support for pediatric cancer research, and children are paying with their lives. This is compounded by the fact that the general public is unaware.
A lot of people are surprised when you tell them there's no funding.
Most people I talk to are they can't even believe that.
People don't understand that. They don't realize it, and it's dramatic.
I don't think the public seems concerned because I don't think they know. It wasn't until Claire got diagnosed and we were thrown into this world of cancer that we realized how little is going towards it.
In adult cancer research, about 60% of the drug development funding comes from private industry. But for pediatric cancer researchers, the number is about 0%.
It's the #1 killer of children out there. And we've only had one childhood cancer drug developed since the 1980s. And to me, that's just really unacceptable.
There's no profit for drug companies to make drugs because it's not as many kids.
I understand they have to make money for their shareholders if they're public. I mean, they're not nonprofit organizations.
But by only sticking with what drugs are going to sell the most is really robbing the littlest victims of a fair fight.
Always seen fundraisers by big organizations like the American Cancer Society and thought, this is great, let's get on it. It's, it'll help for pediatric cancer. And then we found out that very, very little, next to nothing, goes towards pediatric cancer research. And I was shocked and terrified because she's our future and we need to get her better.
But what about the foundations that raise money specifically for childhood cancer research?
There are hundreds of pediatric cancer foundations out there raising funding and awareness, and they're doing great things. But you're looking at it and comparing a mountain and a hill. We've done fantastic things to raise funding, but it's just not there yet.
They're trying and they're trying and they're trying, and there's just not enough money coming through.
But yet we can't give up. But somehow the burden of raising the funds to be able to bring new treatments to clinics and to children seems to fall on the parents and the families. And so it's extremely frustrating to know that as a parent, you not only have to care for your child, but we have to try to pound the pavement to raise money to invent the new treatment that might save his life. And it's devastating.
So what do we have left? We have left the National Cancer Institute, and we are completely dependent on their budget.
A lot of research projects that have substantial potential to be effective are simply not funded because the resources aren't there.
The National Cancer Institute, part of the NIH, funds most of the work that takes place in the country with respect to childhood cancer research. Over the past few years, their budget has been shrinking, or effectively shrinking. That puts childhood cancer patients and childhood cancer research at much greater risk.
I've never seen a more challenging time for very important research to get funded.
We have to find our own money by raising money, getting money from the government, whatever we can do.
And what we as advocates need to do is we need to support them so that they are as effective as they can be in doing what they do best, which is being doctors and being researchers. They shouldn't be spending their time looking for funding and wrangling to get access to drugs. They should be spending time treating kids and finding cures.
And that means we've got to make sure that it's a sufficient budgetary priority that they do have those resources.
4 years ago, key members of Congress agreed that this was a priority and took up the issue.
Madam Speaker, I rise in strong support of this bill, the Carolyn Price Walker Conquer Childhood Cancer Act of 2008.
The moral test of a government is how well it does take care of those in the dawn of life, the children.
It's very important to note that cancer kills more children than any other disease. Many of us don't know that.
H.R. 1553 would strengthen the federal investment in pediatric cancer research and reassert Congress's commitment to conquering childhood cancer. This legislation directs the Secretary of Health and Human Services to continue to enhance, expand, and intensify pediatric cancer research and other activities related to pediatric cancer.
This bill provides a beacon of light. It provides a voice for the innocents who don't have a voice, for the children whose eyes we've looked into, dying from this dreaded disease.
This legislation was named in honor of Representative Deborah Price's daughter, Caroline, who died from cancer in 1999 at age 9.
A nation with our scientists, our committed doctors and oncologists, and our fighting spirit, we can and we will do more to defeat this disease that attacks our children and put an end to their suffering. And to one day look back upon this moment as a true catalyst that led to the end of childhood cancer.
Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no.
This act passed unanimously in the House and the Senate, and President Bush signed the legislation on July 29, 2008. This historic moment was a cause for celebration. The thousands of children fighting cancer around the country were finally getting the help they so desperately needed. But then something happened. Or to be more accurate, something didn't happen. Congress never fully funded this important legislation, not even close. Representative Michael McCall led the fight to get full funding, but his efforts were blocked. Congressman McCall said in part, "I'm very disappointed that while we're recklessly spending trillions of dollars, we can't bring full funding to authorized levels for the most precious resource we have in this country, our children, to protect them from cancer." How could this happen to legislation that had such strong bipartisan support?
You know, it's one of these things, it's easy to talk the talk in terms of voting for something that everyone would agree with. It's more difficult to walk the walk because there are so many other competing interests that want that finite amount of money.
Many of these competing interests are represented by powerful lobbyists who spend billions to get lawmakers' attention and support. It's perfectly legal, but this puts children with cancer at a serious disadvantage. While lobbyists spend their days walking the halls of Capitol Hill, these kids are walking the halls of a different kind. This brings us to the National Cancer Institute. This is the principal federal agency for cancer research and is funded by over $5 billion a year of our tax money. Though Congress directed the NCI to enhance, expand, and intensify pediatric cancer research, funding has remained flat for the last several years. We wanted to get the NCI's take on this issue, but our request to interview Director Harold Varmus was declined. But he recently appeared at the National Press Club to discuss research obstacles. During the hour-long talk, he had plenty to say about cancer.
Colorectal cancer, cervical cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, skin cancers, lung, breast, colon, breast cancer, lung, head and neck, bladder, lung cancer, colon, breast, and ovarian cancer, chronic myeloid leukemia, lung cancer, melanoma, prostate, colon cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer. So I appreciate your attention to this rant.
But what did he say about pediatric cancer? That's right, nothing. This reinforces exactly why we need your help.
A lot of people overlook it, and some people still don't even know that kids get cancer.
Honey, have a little faith today.
I am amazed at the support that and awareness that breast cancer gets. I mean, you see pink everywhere, which is great. I mean, which is great. I'm amazed that it's that big, but you don't see gold, and we need to see some gold.
You have a heart of gold, someday you'll rule the world, just with that smile of yours.
And very little of the funding that goes to cancer goes to pediatric cancer. And it gets me kind of angry. People should care much more about it because kids are really important to the future. Without kids, we won't have adults.
And if you need a friend, someone to understand, I'll be here to hold your hand.
We need to care about kids with cancer because kids are our future, because they hold all the hope and possibility of a life that we need to encourage and we need to inspire. And when that light is extinguished too early, the world is missing out on the possibility of what remarkable things these young people can do. because these young people are remarkable. These children who are diagnosed are extraordinary. I can say that because I'm a mom and because I have an extraordinary son. But I can say that about all of the kids that I've met and what a gift they are to this world. And if we can't invest in trying to help them make our world a better place, then what can we invest in? We need to invest in hope.
Honey, that's the truth. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 oh.
We are very hopeful that we can help these children, but we first must confront the misconceptions that are roadblocks to proper funding.
One is that, well, childhood cancer is relatively rare, so it's not as much of a public health problem.
But is it? You be the judge. An average of 13,500 children in the U.S. will be diagnosed with cancer this year. A total of over 40,000 kids are being treated for cancer right now. There are over 350,000 childhood cancer survivors. This is roughly the population of major cities like New Orleans, Pittsburgh, and Honolulu. And there's another factor to consider. A child who dies from cancer may lose 60, 70, or 80 years of life. By contrast, many adults don't even get diagnosed with cancer until they are in their 60s, 70s, or 80s. What this means is that even though fewer children get cancer, those who die pay a far greater price in terms of lost years of life.
As most people think that children's cancer it's like a cancer in a small adult, and that's not true.
The cancers that occur in children are quite different than those that occur in adults. The common adult cancers, lung cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, prostate, fortunately simply don't occur to any real extent in children. The most common childhood cancers are quite different. The leukemias, the cancer of the white blood cells, brain tumors, kidney tumors. These are all very specific childhood cancers. Some of those cancers are going to be dependent on pathways that may not be prominent in adult with cancers.
And that's why it is so critically important to understand that lessons learned in studying adult malignancies just can't simply be applied to childhood cancers. In fact, it works the other way around. Most of the important cancer genes that have been discovered, or many of the seminal advances we've made in understanding the basis of cancer, have come from rare pediatric disorders.
Over the past 40+ years, we really have made remarkable progress in the treatment of children with cancer, such that the 5-year survival rate overall is about 80%, 4 out of 5 children. That's dramatically higher than it was in the 1960s and early 1970s. But that really doesn't tell the story. The price our children are paying is too high.
And you're told that their only hope for survival is to cut and to poison and to burn their body.
So you're faced with the option that your child is either going to die or they're going to be submitted for torture with the hope that they'll live.
He threw up almost every meal. He almost always had to use a wheelchair because he got so tired. And by the looks of him, you could tell that he was really going to die soon.
The drugs that we use to treat children with cancer were discovered 30, 40, 50 years ago.
When you read the bags of chemo and they say, you know, don't get this on yourself, it's poison, and you're mainlining it into your child, it's really scary.
I just remember feeling sick that I was watching this happen and that I had signed a paper saying it was okay, and it was not okay.
Whatever gains pediatric cancer researchers have achieved with respect to survival rates for kids with cancer has been achieved by taking the chemotherapy doses and amping them higher and higher and higher. So we have more kids who are surviving, but they're surviving sicker and sicker.
I would like to look back 20 years from now and say that the way that we've done that is somewhat draconian in terms of high-dose chemotherapy or radiation therapy.
So you think you're chipping away at the wall and you're taking down the monster one piece at a time, and eventually that wall crumbles and you get the declaration of NED, no evidence of disease.
And for a period of time we were normal and happy and just going through scans and testing her, and then she got sick again. All these things that we had given her years prior had caused her to have a secondary cancer.
A couple months before I started medical school, I got the call to be a potential bone marrow donor to a little girl with cancer. And to find out that little girl needed bone marrow because of her treatment was very confusing. She had cancer and was treated for it, and the treatment itself caused another cancer. Then to go into medical school and to learn that this is really all we have right now is a general approach to it and just to flood the body with toxins. It's still confusing, to be honest.
But it's not only the side effects during treatment that we're worried about. Some of our side effects can last years, decades. Children who are survivors, therefore, are facing significant side effects from treatment that occurred decades ago.
We thank our blessings every day, but what it has done to our daughter and will do to our daughter is at times inhumane, and we're going to be dealing with that for the rest of our lives.
Kaylee's on her 6th round of 15 rounds of chemotherapy. She goes to one every 3 weeks, and there's multiple medications. And unfortunately, in kids where their cells are still growing, that can cause a lot of long-term side effects that we need to study, and side effects that aren't seen in adults. Part of the issue Kaylee's worried about is long-term fertility issues, but the medications may cause side effects with that. The doxorubicin in particular can cause cardiac issues. If Kaylee does get pregnant, and I know that she wants to get pregnant, she loves children, and that's one of her goals, to get married and have children, that's something that'll have to be monitored very closely.
And the other part of this misconception is how survival is actually defined.
There's this 80% statistic of 80% of kids surviving childhood cancer, and I think that people think, well, that's fantastic, that's wonderful. But the reality of that 80% statistic is that Jack is in it. 80% of kids survive childhood cancer 5 years. It's not survival overall for the rest of their lives. They go on to battle other diseases, secondary cancers, and the horrific effects of the treatments that they've endured. But the bottom line is, Jack is in the statistic that everybody cheers for. Jack survived 5 years. He's part of that 80%, and he is going to die in the next few weeks. So that 80% statistic doesn't mean what people believe it to mean, or what people want to believe it to mean. And I think until we can make sure that people understand that while, yes, kids might survive 5 years, when you're diagnosed at age 4, the thought of saying, well, maybe I'll be able to live till 9, it doesn't really comfort a family. It's not going to comfort a child, and we must come up with more treatments, more options, so that kids are truly surviving, not just beyond 5 years, but for a lifetime of health and happiness.
10-year-old Jack Bartos died a week after this interview. He did live a happy life, but the lack of treatment options deprived him of a healthy life. For years, he and his family dedicated their lives to bringing experimental trials to hospitals around the country. Was this all in vain?
When I found out that there was nothing else we could do to save Jack, it made me feel sad thinking about what we've done and how it's kind of gone. But then I remember that there's other kids too that stuff is working for, because it's not like we're just gonna say, okay, Jack's not here anymore, we're just not gonna do anything. We gotta keep doing stuff, because it's never gonna get better if people don't do stuff.
And we have stuff for you to do. Stuff that will help researchers develop targeted therapies that are more effective and less toxic.
We have the tools in our hands that will lead us to more effective therapies, but we can't do this alone.
But there is no time to waste. Many of the children in our film have relapsed several times, which means they need new treatments as soon as possible.
Get research out there, get new trials available to our kids as soon as possible is a matter of life and death.
Patients come to us always with a clock. We're talking about months to a couple of years, so time is absolutely important. So we're gonna have to develop drugs right now
We need to look at ways that are going to accelerate the timeline. And that has to happen with all hands on deck.
And the hands we need belong to you. You are the central figure in this life and death mission. You have the power to set off a chain of events that will lead to more funding for childhood cancer research.
We've seen human nature in people come out through this path, and people want to help people, and people want to make it better for others. It gives people a cause, it gives people a good feeling.
I think if every single person knew 7 people die of pediatric cancer a day, not a week, a day, everybody would help.
This is not something that just happens to people and you should feel sorry for them. This is something that happens to people and you can do something about. This is a call to action.
Are you ready? Step 1. As we said at the beginning, we need your voice. More people need to know the truth about these children. The only way they will know is if you tell them. We need you to share this film with every person you know. We're talking about everyone. Don't just like it. We want you to share it, tweet it, text it, blog it, email it, anything to get the word out. The stakes are high. Stop at nothing. Just imagine the difference you can make.
Imagine this, joy and laughter, no more pain. Where love insists to be known. Imagine all the people caring for each other instead of all the fussing and arguing. Oh, I'm a dreamer, a believer that there's hope within our reach, and I'ma take a stand and agree.
Next, visit thetruth365.org. There you will find 3 main sections, each with a specific action step that will bring us closer to a cure. These will change to reflect our current needs, but as of this release, they are Pass It On, Pledge, and Petition. Pass It On. In order to turbocharge our campaign, we will enlist the help of some of our children's biggest fans. These are compassionate celebrities who have shown a personal interest in helping children with cancer. As an example, here are just a few of the celebrities who have reached out to 5-year-old Brooke Hester.
Bailey Madison, Taylor Swift, the Jonas Brothers, the Eggo, Mr. Strawberry, some basketball players, some other ones too.
Here we are, New York City, the Brooke and Taylor show.
Yeah.
And you have been so sweet and so kind and so friendly. You're like my best friend here. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
It has been friends and friendship to Brooke. They have given her kindness and the spirit of compassion, and that's the opportunity that they have, the power that the celebrities have, is to step forward in honor of children who may not be speaking for themselves.
I'm your boyfriend, right? You're my girlfriend?
Yeah.
Well, tell them your name. You're Evelana.
Okay.
You love me?
Love you.
We have made it easy for you to invite these celebrities to share the truth with their millions of fans. One retweet or Facebook post from a celebrity has the potential to reach millions of people. Earlier this year, Brett Michaels from Poison tweeted about Alina Merrick.
This fellow had posted something, and so all of his fans are aware of this information and they're going to check out what he's talking about. If viewers that came to it went up to about 10,000 in a week, and I couldn't hardly log on to it. I didn't know why I couldn't log on. It was, what do you call it, crashing?
Next is the pledge. Our elected leaders in Congress control the federal budget purse strings, so we need to get their attention. This was an election year, so we are asking each person elected or re-elected to sign a pledge that supports ending cancer as a threat to all children. If they plan to represent us, they must represent all of us, including our nation's children. This pledge is consistent with the mission of our children's greatest political allies in Congress, the Childhood Cancer Caucus. Please click on your state to see who has or has not signed the pledge. If you see pending or no, we encourage you to call or contact these representatives and ask them to support children and sign the pledge. As the members of the 113th Congress take office, we want to be on their radar from day one.
Tell them this is a priority. If you tell them, and if a sufficient number of people tell them this is a priority, they will make it a priority. It's all about figuring out what their constituents care about and then being responsive.
Look what happened during the 1980s in the early AIDS crisis. You know, the gay community in the United States stood up and said, this is an issue we really care about. And they moved the government. They moved the government to fund AIDS research, and they funded scientists who very quickly found a fantastic treatment for AIDS. And we can take that model and we can apply it to our kids, and we can move the government to support our kids and find better treatments for our kids too.
And so I do think that calls and letters and any means of communication, those things work.
Next is the petition. The right to petition is one of the fundamental freedoms provided by the First Amendment to the Constitution. To show your support for children with cancer, please read and sign the petition on our site. By adding your name, you are providing a voice for children in need. We will post new petitions on a regular basis, so please check back often. Following these steps will only take a few minutes, but the impact will be huge. Children with cancer will finally get the attention they deserve from those who control what gets funded and what does not. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen, and it begins with you.
We're going to make it happen. We're going to develop them from the bench to the bedside.
And if I can help one family not feel like we feel, because there is a new treatment, there is a new option, and there is new hope, then it is worth our time to sit here. And Jack knows that, and he is waiting for us at home, and I can't wait to get to him, to spend every last precious moment that I possibly can with my son. But I want to make sure that other moms have that opportunity too.
The sooner we can get to it, as I said, the clock cuts in many different ways. The sooner we can deal with it, the sooner we can solve the big problem.
Another way you can help jumpstart the process is through the donate button. The focus of our film is federal funding, but it will take some time for more resources to reach the labs. Unfortunately, that will be too late for many children fighting cancer. If you would like to make a difference right away, we encourage you to make a tax-deductible donation through our site. And your donation will have the biggest possible impact in the shortest amount of time. 100% of proceeds will go directly and exclusively to a dream team of leading childhood cancer researchers. These are some of the most highly respected pediatric oncologists in the country and the world. You will recognize 3 of the doctors from our film. This team will work together to determine how to use these funds to most effectively fight childhood cancer. And they will be getting all proceeds, which means every penny that is donated, minus only payment processing fees. Please visit our website for more details and to learn about ways you can get involved with the Truth 365. While this is the end of our film, this is just the beginning of our campaign. The fate of these children is now in your hands. As Katie read at the beginning, Dr. Seuss warns what happens if you don't care and do nothing. But he didn't tell us what happens if you do care and do something. Here's the truth through Katie's eyes.
Since someone like you cares a whole awful lot, everything is going to get better. It will.
As long as I've got you, as long as I've got you, as long as I've got you, I'm gonna be alright. 'Cause everything is not okay when you know where to be found. Everything just fades to gray when I don't have you around. My whole world turns upside down without you. But as long